Welcome, everybody. This is Charlie Stern, and we're back. We're really back this time because Peter's back with us. Welcome back, Peter.
Thank you very much.
We missed you for the last several episodes of 914 Wired. This is a show where we talk about politics, education, and culture, things that are going on in Westchester. My co-hosts are Dina Seward over in the Yonkers Bureau of 914 Wired.
Southwest Yonkers Bureau.
Southwest. I borrowed that from you, Peter, by the way. And then, of course, Peter Moses, who is, I guess, the brainchild of what has become 914 Wired. So our guest today is Sandy Bernabei. Sandy is a licensed clinical social worker and the founder of a group called Anti-Racist Alliance. I know you've done a lot of work on solitary confinement. You're kind of all over the internet, and you're a well-respected person in your field, which, by the way, we have a lot of friends in common, and they all say very, very positive things about you.
Oh, thank
Sandy.
you. Thank you for saying that.
So one of the reasons that we were hoping you'd come on the show today, there's a big story going on in Westchester. It's the re-election of Jamal Bowman versus his challenge from current county executive George Latimer. So your group, the Anti-Racist Alliance, took an unusual step. And I don't know the exact date of the letter, but you wrote a letter. I picked it up on Black Westchester. Shout out to AJ and Black Westchester, by the way, for publishing the letter. And the letter basically is telling George Latimer, don't run. Don't run. We're not supporting you. Don't run. Now, that's me paraphrasing. Maybe you can provide some additional depth on what that letter was really saying. It's kind of an unusual step. It's not unusual to endorse one over another, even in a primary. But this was before he formally announced he was going to run. Sandy Bernabei put pen to paper and said, "Sir, do not run. We will not support you." Mm-hmm. Can you tell us why you took that unusual step?
The message is, George, stay out of it. You know, first of all, I know George for years. Sweet man, mainstream man, kind man, lives to be loved, and we love George Latimer, right? But we do anti-racist organizing, okay? Those of us who've completed education in structural racism understand that all things are not equal in Westchester. And for 7 years, well, first of all, most of us campaigned for him because he's far better than any Republican who has been in that position. But we courted him for 7 years and worked with him for 7 years to get him to take a stand to do undoing structural racism in the county, to take a look at the outcomes of all of the systems in the county. And we wanted him to join the Government Alliance for Race and Equity. We wanted to bring Undoing Racism workshops. We thought with George Latimer, we would have somebody who would be a champion, who would have the courage to bring the narrative to Westchester that we were going to make sure that those who are bottom stuck would have a fair shot, fair chance for a good life. And the way that George worked it was that we were continuously and constantly redirected. Do this, do that, call this person, call that person, send me resumes. And we worked hard. Finally, we realized that there was not going to be any anti-racist work in Westchester County and that we had been bamboozled. And so the idea that
That's a very strong word, bamboozled.
Oh, we had been bamboozled. When it was time to pick a police commissioner, we were, after the Chamberlain murder by the White Plains Police, we went and spoke to him, and he said, "I'll meet with you every other month."
You're talking about the Kenneth Chamberlain.
Yes. We're talking about structural change, dealing with racism in police. But no matter what we did, it was, get resumes of candidates that are great. Get the candidates that are great, and none of them would be considered. What are the recommendations? And we made recommendations, and none of them. So what we started to understand is that we were doing a lot of work, but that it was falling on deaf ears.
And that's the reason why. And that's the reason why you wrote your letter, an open letter rather than privately. That's the only reason.
Privately, we've had many conversations, and for instance, the latest conversation was about the youth detention center. You know, George, please, you have oversight over that youth detention center. You're building an 80-bed unit. We never have more than 20 kids, including all 5 counties. And we don't want a detention center. We wanted something more, transformative, more progressive, like many people in the rest of the country. And we were always told, well, you have to go speak to this, you have to join this committee, you have to join that committee. Once again, the rigmarole of participating and doing a lot of work, but at the end of the day, the plan would go as he wanted it to go.
So far, the things that you've raised really were not actually in the letter, and I'm finding it very interesting. So when I read the letter, I read, I strongly urge you to seek another office.
That's right.
After your tenure as county executive. With your expertise, you could easily assist Governor Hochul at the state level.
That's right. Go
without
to the state
challenging
level.
Representative Jamal Bowman. So it's as if you're saying, you're good enough for the governor. Go work for the governor.
Yes, go work for the governor who has a much broader mainstream understanding of what needs to happen for this state. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, go.
Sandy, what if it turns out that more people in this district prefer George Latimer to Jamal Bowman for a whole slew of reasons? And where do you... No, let me finish. I didn't interrupt you. And you've concluded that he has no right. He should not run, and you're telling him, basically, you're trying to cut him off at the pass. But what if more people want him than Jamal Bowman for a whole slew of reasons, not just the anti-Israel stance that he takes that you're going to argue with me about, but I think he's
that letter,
very questionable.
The letter that I wrote was before we even knew this was going to happen. The dates of these letters were in the summer, in the fall. Everything I'm saying has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, George, we love you. 35 years you lived in Rye. 88% white, almost zero poverty. You've been a man who understands what needs to happen, but you're never out there really. You're here with the comforts that you have in an exclusive life. He's a wonderful guy. Jamal Bowman, we worked hard to get him there. Boots on the ground. Families that he works with, kids that he was teaching. The 16th district is enormously diverse. A third white, a third black, a third Hispanic, very, very mixed. Jamal Bowman is that.
Did you get any reaction from anyone in the Latimer campaign about this letter?
First of all, the campaign started after the letter.
Okay, still with that, it's
we
out
never
there.
Hear from George. George just ignores us. George just ignores me.
But Sandy, what are the other? What are the? It almost sounds as though you're basing the entirety of his campaign, on racism. But there are other issues
on inclusion.
On inclusion. But right. where does he stand? Where do you stand? On other issues, on let's say budgets, economy, housing,
yes.
Affordable housing.
Yes.
Setting aside his alleged lack of concern for impoverished communities.
That's what I'm talking about. Let me give you a little metaphor. 2 people, one's on the beach, one's in the water. Okay, the one in the water starts screaming. And he says, and the one on the beach is like, what? The one on the water says, I can't swim. The man on the beach says, I can't swim either, but you don't hear me making a racket. George is like the guy on the beach. Although I have to say he's better than the guy on the beach because he does know when people are in the water and drowning what they need. Jamal Bowman is from the water. He's from the community. The things that he has worked on in legislation since he's been in Congress are impressionable. Bringing it back to the diverse community that needs it. He represents everybody because his lived experiences with everybody.
Okay, I follow. Your group is an advocate for Jamal Bowman. I connect with that.
Yes.
But in your letter, which you're now telling us precedes this campaign by several months,
yes,
you say to George Latimer, your reputation as an advocate for racial justice will be severely tarnished.
Yes.
That doesn't sound like, George, we love you.
No, it doesn't.
Well, no, I would don't. I'm very annoyed at George Latimer. I feel very bamboozled and disappointed. For years, we were told that he's an advocate. But when you are a white man, with all of the privileges that come, he doesn't even want the damn privileges, but they are all there for him. And we finally worked, and I'm sure he loved the idea that we had Mondaire Jones and we have Jamal Bowman. I'm sure before he thought about running, he was in support of them. What do we do to support them? Then all of a sudden, you're going to unseat the two men of color, two black men of color, for the first time that we have representing these districts.
He's only going up against one of them.
Yeah,
not
he's
two
only
of them.
running for one office.
Okay, I'm saying you're going to unseat him for no reason other than why. Why are you doing this?
But let's look at what. Okay, so let's look at specifics. Jamal Bowman is obviously a man of color. Mm-hmm. What has Bowman done for the poor people, for the blacks and Hispanics in the district? Yeah, just let's get a list of what Bowman has done
because
while he's been in office.
I said,
okay,
please.
Yeah.
You know, he's only been there 3 years now, right?
Right.
He's brought $125 million of funding to the district, right, through legislation, including $88 million to Mamaroneck flood risk. When Hurricane Ida came, destroyed Mamaroneck's roads, whatever. He brought that there. He brought $12 million to New Rochelle Link Project. In New Rochelle, they put the throughway, but through downtown.
But again, I'm sure he's got valuable talking points. There's merit to his candidacy, and there's strength in his incumbency. I'll acknowledge all of that. What I want to double click on, Sandy, is it's a different thing to endorse a candidate than to tell someone else, you shouldn't run in the first place. You should not run. And you just made the argument here, I'm paraphrasing, you need to state it in your own words, that he shouldn't run because he has white skin privilege?
No, there's other things that this man could do. There are beautiful things that he can do.
Well, you just told me that George enjoys white skin privilege just by who he is.
Yes.
And therefore he shouldn't run against a black man running for Congress?
Yes, I am telling you that. Because the district itself is diverse. The district itself deserves an opportunity to have people who look like them represent them.
So isn't it possible to agree with that statement, but also have a competition? Also have other people competing in the race?
I don't even know why George is doing this.
Well, it's a fait accompli.
Yeah.
Your request was denied, was turned down, was not even...
So now we run a campaign.
Wait. In 2020, when Jamal Bowman ran, did you say anything about him running against an incumbent, Elliot Engel, who'd been there for a long time, who was a Bronx guy? Did you have any problem with that? He was a Bronx guy. He delivered for minorities in the district that he represented.
We had the same. Listen, I worked for Bowman then too. The same thing. The people of the 16th district deserve something better, something new. Look at Mount Vernon, the state of Mount Vernon. Look at every community that is diverse deserves the opportunity to have representation that represents them and looks like them.
I don't think anybody would dispute any of what you're saying.
And
Sandy.
that's why I understand that Jamal Bowman, I know who he is. I know how he is, that he comes from family, that he comes from community, that he comes from the students. I was at his school doing a workshop for the parents. I saw the love. I saw the images in the hallway of all different leaders, not just black leaders or not just white leaders. I saw who he was grooming.
Okay, I want to say something in fairness again. You are doing exactly what you promised in your letter you would do, which is you are working for Representative Bowman right now.
Absolutely,
and that's eminently fair. But in the spirit of fairness, we should also point out that not to be a campaign proxy for George Latimer, but he has embraced multicultural capability. He has,
but he doesn't deliver. He did not deliver.
People of every walk of life and color working in his office. Sandy,
Charles, excuse me,
undeniable. So
can you let him finish?
if you're trying to sort of divide and create some sort of contrast in terms of their capabilities, I don't know if that's fair.
Go ahead, Sandy. Go ahead.
Diversity takes on many, many flavors. You've got Latinx diversity, you've got ableism, you've got ageism, you've got, LGBTQ, If you have a cabinet of people and we all stand and you take a snapshot and you basically see light-skinned people, you may be very, very diverse, but it doesn't represent all the people. We're not talking about Westchester County. We're talking about District 16, where 2/3 of the people are people of color.
Today.
Are people whose native language spoken at home is not English. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about the county. We're not talking about the state. That's why I said, George, go to the state level. You're going to represent the majority of the people. Stay out of Bowman's district. They deserve to have the representative that they have. That's working for them.
But you failed at that. He's running. So what happens? What's next? You didn't get what you wanted.
That's fine. So now we just run a campaign.
Are you afraid that Jamal Bowman might lose?
No, because...
Then why'd you write the letter?
Then why write the letter?
Because because it was a betrayal. It was a betrayal. George we thought he was with us with this, that was a good thing that Jamal Bowman is there. I mean, how many representatives in Congress that are black men do we have from Westchester County? I mean, come on. It was a wonderful thing.
Okay, go ahead, Ardina.
Let Ardina.
But it almost, and correct me if I've made the wrong assumption, Sandy, because it almost sounds like you're implying that if you are an older white guy, that you don't have the qualifications or the will to represent a diverse district.
That's not true. There are many county executives who are transformative, who are anti-racist. For instance, I want to point to Dow Constantine, who is of Kings County, in Seattle. He's an anti-racist white man who is actually the voice, challenging white structures. And he is somebody that you can trust because of his transformative leadership. George Latimer is basically a mainstream Democrat who was a nice guy. He's wonderful. And we had high hopes. Those hopes weren't delivered. And so we feel disappointed. And instead of his elevating himself into a system where he could have helped all New Yorkers, he targets a community, the 16th district, that he does not look like he represents. And we finally had achieved the success of finding a representative that is heartfelt, filled with love.
Yeah, but one who doesn't represent many people in the district whose views are the opposite of his. And that's why Latimer is running.
No,
I consider Jamal Bowman to be anti-Israeli. I consider him to be somebody
not true. Listen.
I consider him to be someone who's deaf to Jewish voters.
Okay, let me just say something. Okay, I'm going to.
Go ahead.
The Jewish residents of Westchester, living in towns and cities in the 16th district, some of them came together and wrote this letter, but I pulled this out. When October 7th happened, the Hamas terrorists did that horrible, horrible, horrible thing. This is what Jamal Bowman said, and I quote, "I strongly condemn the horrific attack by Hamas, and I am saddened by the loss of precious lives, especially on the holy day of Simchat Torah. We need a way to end this deadly violence that is killing and traumatizing generations of Israelis and Palestinians alike."
He's also said a lot of things that are pro-Hamas.
Let her finish,
Sorry.
Peter. Let her finish.
I'm sorry.
Including the blockade of Gaza. I have been to Gaza borders, and I know that Israelis and Palestinians are constantly living in fear. We must work harder to ensure peace in the region. Jamal Bowman has always said what Hamas did is unfathomably unforgivable, and we must find a way to end that capability. But you can't kill. This one strategy, you just can't keep doing this. And,
right.
and I think that's what's dividing this country.
Well,
the way that it's being done. Not that Hamas should be dismantled, of course. Not that it wasn't tragic, of course.
But going forward, Sandy, would that affect Bowman's decision if he is reelected on aid to Israel? Because when this whole thing is over, Israel's going to need a lot of support. They're going to need some big bucks to get their economy back up to speed. And guys like Bowman could say, you know something? I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving you any money. Then what happens?
No. I think Bowman, I can't speak for Bowman, but just my logic as a human being, of course you've got to support Israel. But now we got to rebuild Gaza. What are we going to do now?
So
Gaza doesn't run the economy.
Point out one
I
thing.
don't care about the economy. I care about human beings, babies, mothers giving birth. There was 5,500 pregnant women in October running from north to south with their bellies full, giving birth.
There's no debate on 914 Wired. We're not going to get into a competition on atrocities because it's atrocious.
I don't want to. It's all atrocious.
But Sandy, Mr. Bowman was one of 14 members of Congress to vote no on a resolution to condemn anti-Semitism. These kinds of issues are going to follow.
Listen to me. I got to tell you something. I got to have to hear that because I would never believe he would do such a thing.
It's on the record. It's on. Wait a minute. It's on the record. It's in the congressional record. Sandy, it's Charles is reading from a report about the congressional record.
Get me the words. I cannot believe.
If you have it, Peter, read it to her. Pull it up.
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, but you can't criticize her for something that she's not aware of.
No. Before you make statements like that, brother, you have got to have the exact words.
I'm the one who made the statement. Charlie did. So let.
I'm reading from an article in The Hill. Okay?
I don't want to hear. I want to hear.
It was published December 6th, 2023, and it says Bowman condemned Hamas's assault in the days that followed October 7th attacks, while emphasizing Palestinian civilians are not responsible for Hamas's actions. He voted against multiple resolutions related to support of Israel, and most recently was one of 14 lawmakers who voted no on a GOP-led resolution Tuesday to condemn the uptick in anti-Semitism in the U.S. and around the world.
Well, he may have condemned the idea that there was an uptick. Okay, I'm not. I will put my life on the line that man did not say he supports anti-Semitism, or the man is representing all of his district. He's a human being. Who would support anti-Semitism? Come on. Before you say such a thing,
I think it would be fair to ask the obverse question: who would vote no on a resolution condemning anti-Semitism?
No. I don't know what it was linked to. For instance, at the UN, everybody voted to end the ceasefire except the United States. I respected England. She said, we're not going to vote for this ceasefire until it's linked to the denouncement of Hamas. That, I think, she did the right thing. You see, she didn't vote against it or for it. She had an opinion that you also have to denounce Hamas. That I agree with.
So here we are in Westchester County and a little piece of the North Bronx, although the lines may change between now and primary day, and primary day may change between now and primary day.
When is it?
But we don't know yet. I mean, I guess there's a stated date for the primary, but if the lines change, there may not be enough time to hold the primary on that day, so we don't.
I see.
That's uncertainty right now. My question is, what does it mean for Westchester that this race is now a referendum on Israel?
I think that we have to go back to my letter, that this race is not a referendum on Israel. I think that that's a terrible thing that has happened, that it has been reduced to that. It's not right. You shouldn't. How could you? There are people who are being thrown out of. Anyway, I want to go back to all of the reasons why we said that George shouldn't challenge Bowman. This was way before. It has nothing to do with Israel. It has to do with who is the best candidate to represent the people in the 16th district.
So what I'm hearing you say, Sandy, is that there's a bunch of important issues: housing, transportation, anti-racism, any number of local gang-related crime, education. There's a whole bunch of domestic problems, social problems that need attention. None of them are going to get attention between now and primary day. It's going to be a referendum on Israel and Hamas war.
Because the because news trumps. I hate to use the word trumps, but news trumps what you want, because the news cycle is going to prevail, because it always does. It always does.
But you know what we need to do? We need to keep talking to the people in the 16th district about what their needs are, and who is going to have their back and who has had their back.
Well, there are a lot of people who think that George Latimer best represents members of the 16th district. I can't imagine. I have not met one person from my synagogue who supports Jamal Bowman, and I belong to a progressive Reconstructionist synagogue.
I got to tell you something. If I was Jewish and I was in the synagogue, before I ever admitted that I supported Jamal Bowman, you'd have to kill me first, because if they did, it would be the kiss of death.
That's not a fair comment. My synagogue is, and many synagogues that aren't ultra-Orthodox are diverse entities, and so that's just wrong. We argue about anything and everything, but I've never heard anybody support Jamal Bowman. And after the comments he's made, this is where we are. And the reason George is running is because people are telling him that Jamal Bowman's views do not represent many people in the 16th district, regardless of your contention that he has no right to run or shouldn't run. Some people don't agree with that.
I did not say.
No, I amended that when I was saying it. I amended.
Yeah, I personally said to him way before he decided to run, just stay out of it. Come on, there's so many things you could do. It's like ridiculous. Why are you doing this? And now because of this issue, he's doing this. If that's why he's doing it, I don't know. I can't speak for him. But I want to ask you, Charles, Ardina, and Peter. Do not put words in Bowman's mouth unless you have a quote and you understand what that quote is.
Time out. What words did I put in his mouth?
I don't know. You just said, he voted against legislation.
That's a registered vote. What are you talking about?
But let me ask this. I mean, yes, Charlie did state that he did not. He voted against that resolution. But
no. Let me be clear. Since Sandy raised the issue, the chamber cleared the resolution in a 311 to 14 to 92 vote, with 13 Democrats and 1 Republican voting no.
Right.
Bowman was one of them.
But I would
so
like
where's
to
the fabrication?
Because what you're doing is you're saying that the issue was anti-Semitism, that any human being who represents any politician, especially Jamal, would vote for something that, what was it, that it was for anti-Semitism or it was not against anti-Semitism?
A resolution condemning anti-Semitism.
Right.
That's what Charlie's saying. But what were there other?
It was a resolution, to be clear, Ardina. Thank you. 14 House lawmakers voted against a GOP-led resolution Tuesday, quote, denouncing the drastic rise of anti-Semitism in the U.S.
Okay, drastic rise.
They voted against it. They voted no.
But for argument's sake, have there been, this is the question, have there been other resolutions condemning anti-Semitism that Bowman has voted for? Because I think that there have been several.
So ridiculous. The GOP, Republican, against the rise. I'm not even sure what that was. It's not even clear to me. Bowman voted against a GOP resolution about the rise of anti-Semitism. So he is condemning anti-Semitism, or I would go nowhere near this man.
He has condemned it. He has condemned it. Okay,
I told you
just
right
to make
here.
it clear.
Of course, of course. Okay. I'm not even sure if his wife isn't Jewish. I don't know, but
her maiden name is Oppenheimer. So.
I don't know. But all I know is that this man would never, ever, ever say that anti-Semitism would be okay. That would be like, I couldn't back him either. Okay, nobody would. So I do not think that GOP. Don't forget, the GOP will do anything to get rid of all of these progressives in there. Right. There is somehow, it's not clear, and I'm asking you to be clear before you say such a terrible thing.
I was clear before, and I'm going to be even more clear now. The resolution, which spans 4 pages, strongly condemns all forms of anti-Semitism, reaffirms the House's strong support for the Jewish community in the U.S. and around the globe, calls on elected officials and world leaders to condemn and fight all forms of anti-Semitism, rejects all forms of terror, hate, discrimination, and harassment against individuals in the Jewish community, and, quote, clearly and firmly states that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism.
Oh, wait
unquote.
a minute. That's what he couldn't vote for.
That's the clause. That's the clause right there.
Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism.
That's it.
He couldn't agree with that, and neither will I.
That's
thank
the
you
clause.
for reading the whole thing. They did not agree that if you are against this government, anti-Zionism, then you are against, that it's the same as anti-Semitism. That's not true.
Actually, that's not what Zionism is.
I know.
Like many people who don't understand things about Israel and about Jews, which I think that you're in that group. Zionism is the wish for a Jewish homeland. It's not a political organization. It's not a political force. It's a fact. It's a fact that Jews want to have a place on this earth where they can feel safe. And there has never been there. Excuse me.
Of course, and they deserve that.
But that anti-Zionism means that you oppose the Jewish state. That's what anti-Zionism means. That you oppose.
Well, that was not my understanding.
So, look, we only have a couple more minutes here, Peter. Let me just end off on this, okay? There's some sort of cleavage here, for lack of a better term. So I'm going to read off. Here are the 14 lawmakers who voted no.
But can we see just from this conversation that thing about anti-Semitism?
I'm about to tell you who voted no. Representative Jamal Bowman, Representative Cori Bush, Representative Jerry Connolly, Representative Jesus Garcia, Representative Paul Grijalva, Representative Primala Jayapal, Representative Summer Lee, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Representative Ilhan Omar, Representative Ayanna Pressley. It's the squad.
The squad.
They would not say that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Is that, at the end of the day, what they were voting against? Anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. That's what they were saying.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. It doesn't make it right.
The resolution stated that anti-Zionism, if you're against Zionism, you're anti-Semitic.
Okay. By the way, being against the current government in Israel,
yes,
I'm against the government in Israel right now. And I'm a child of a Holocaust survivor. And
that's what I understand Zionism is, huh?
The resolution stated that anti-Zionism
here you go,
is anti-Semitism.
Well, then we've got to clarify this, because I am telling you.
It's been clarified. You're not accepting it, but it's been clarified.
Well, no, I'm saying that something else must have happened, because
I doubt it.
All
right, folks. We're going to finish off right there. Sandy, thank you for coming on and sharing this perspective. Help me to better understand what the Anti-Racist Alliance is about and what the positioning is going to be. And it also kind of confirms for me that the Israel story is a big part of this election. It is going to be a big part of this election.
And I want you to realize that letter was written before October 7th.
Right.
Okay? And I sent it twice.
But it didn't resonate. It didn't resonate till after George decided to run.
Oh, I don't know what to tell you. I'm trying to tell you why we choose to say, please, George, don't do this. go do something else. He could do a million things with his life. This man could run for governor if he wanted to at some point. But this is not what he chose to do at this time for other reasons, and that really, really is a heartbreak for us.
And on some level, is it not healthy to have, in a democracy, to have a competition, to have a race?
For these reasons, though, that we've been talking, the ending of this beautiful podcast is for those reasons. I don't think those are reasons why you should unseat somebody who is doing a superb job for the people in the District 16. I don't think these should be those reasons. You should say he did a terrible job, not because he signed some resolution, anti-Zionism is whatever.
Okay.
Would your stance change, Sandy, if the district lines shifted from a minority-dominant congressional district to a non-minority dominant congressional district if the redistricting changes?
No. Because that game's been, we've been playing that game a long time, right? This redistricting stuff. The people of a district should have an opportunity to vote for people that represent them. And I don't think moving lines is an answer. We already I don't know what they've finally decided on the redistricting. I don't know. That's a legal thing that I don't really know enough about.
But that's what I'm saying. If the district becomes predominantly white as opposed to predominantly black the way it is now, would your argument be the same?
Absolutely not, because those people are still there, okay? Those people are still there. All of those communities are still there. And this man is not just somebody who does people of color. He's a fine man who is also representing, not everybody who's white in this district supports what you've been talking about today either, i.e. me. He represents me. And he represents
Sandy,
all of the people that I work with.
We agree with you. He got elected. He got elected twice. He's running for a third term. We see strength in that incumbency. We recognize it. I'll let you have the final word, Sandy. What's the final word?
Here's the final word. We put the data into AI, and even AI thinks that he's the best candidate for the district.
Wow.
All right.
How's that?
Okay. That's great. I love that.
We put all the data points in, and they said Bowman is the best candidate for this district.
There's a technology angle on this as well. All right, everybody. Well, Sandy Bernabei, licensed clinical social worker, leader of Anti-Racist Alliance, thank you for being our guest, for sharing your perspective.
I'm a member of, not a leader of, okay? But I'm a member of.
Thank you for sharing your perspective. And that's it today for 914 Wired. On behalf of my co-hosts, Peter Moses and Ardina Seward, thank you for tuning in. Tune in again, 914 Wired. It's available wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.